Howdy, folks. It's Sunday, time for another weekly update. You may hear a frustrated milk piglet in the background. The baby is having a moment. So, this last week, some of what we had was just the standard holiday stuff. We had a Christmas potluck with the staff this week. Was Went very well. Had ugly sweater contest and a lot of food. John cooked a turkey. Rod did some other meats. And folks don't trust me to cook, so I just helped move things around. Um, just on a more business oriented side, I thought I'd make a bit in here just about some of the random stuff that pops up. I like to share what some of that is so folks know. Aside from the big things we're working on, some of the little things that pop up that it's not something you can predict, but commissioners being in our position, sometimes folks will run into a situation and they don't know what to do next. So we get reached out to sometimes with, nobody calls us out of the blue because something went right for them. Like this week, I had a 80-year-old lady call. She had mold in her house, subsidized living, her caregiver hours were cut, and she didn't know what to do. So, because of what we do, I know different people. I was able to reach out to the housing department real easy, let them know there's a problem. Somebody thinks they've got mold in their house. We need to check that out. And let them know we were also looking at what we can do about the person's hours so that they know I may call them and ask for some material to show why this 80-year-old woman with neck surgery might need more caregiver hours. Seems obvious, but those are assigned through. Uh, she was told it was a change at the federal level, but I reached out to aging people with disabilities. They're looking into it for me. I always appreciate that. And it's one of those random things that pops up. You're in the middle of working on something as far as economic development. What are other counties doing? And then there's elderly lady needs help, so you see what you can do. You try and help her. Saw that we, what was it? Secure Rural Schools looks like it's been approved to continue. That had been lost earlier this year. It's one of the funding streams by which federal timber dollars make it into local budgets. Now, that's not what we've been using. We were receiving more revenue by choosing to receive federal timber receipts from the cuts. That's not fixed. That's the thing the federal government took away. 3 different actions this year took away timber money. One of them was SRS, but the other 2 relate to receipts, and that's what we've been using because it's better money. And it's not entirely clear what this renewal SRS will do. It may still get funneled through these other executive orders and go straight to the U.S. Treasury instead of being split with local governments, but it is a step in the right direction that could be helpful for local government budgets. So we're staying optimistic on that one. We had, obviously farther north of us, folks probably noticed that there was a lot of flooding in the news. Kind of a heads up showed up in that and reports. So I checked in with our emergency management. They were already well on top of the situation. We didn't expect any problems and we didn't have any problems, but they were prepared if we did. So always good when something bad might happen and our staff are 3 steps ahead. We've got some other stuff. We had a meeting of the Coos County Urban Renewal Agency this week, talking about the North Spit Road. So leaving town, going north, across the Green Bridge, across the other bridge, off to your left, you've got the long road that goes out across the bay and pops out onto your sand dunes where some of the industry is, campground. That is the North Spit, and that is the road that we're looking at using urban renewal money to improve so that if businesses want to invest out there or if present businesses want to expand, the infrastructure is more suitable. Urban renewal, long story short, it takes some money from it doesn't take money. it defers taxes instead of going to the overlapping taxing districts, keeps them in the zone designated. So that money can't be spent outside of that stretch. Uh, but, oh, I got sidetracked. Somebody asked about the baby. Let's see. Who is named Sophia, by the way. So yeah, you can't spend it outside of that zone. So we couldn't have used it for, and you can only use it on economic development capital projects. So you can't use it for small repairs. You can't use it to fill potholes. Comes up in the cities a lot, but you can do major modifications to the road to make it better. So that's what we're doing with that bit. Let's see. I had a meeting this week. There was a developer that wanted to have a meeting with the City of Powers, their mayor and city recorder. So I was able to join in on that meeting. That was cool, very exciting. More folks talking to Powers about their idea. They would like to get a research site out there. It sounds like the Coquel tribe is putting in a fish trap out there, or a fish hatchery. I am blanking off the top of my head. But related to fish restoration is a big project that the Coquel tribe has worked on, been very successful at. So that's an expansion of that out there. And that dovetails well into Powers' objective. They want to see a research facility come out there. They're deep in the woods, but they've got infrastructure and a lot of natural assets. They'd like to see maybe a research facility, could be OSU, U of O, one of these other colleges or universities, put a remote site out there where they can use as a staging ground for research. In particular, they'd also like to see some collaboration with the tribes for some kind of archaeological outpost out there. A lot of opportunities out there in the valley, out there in the woods out there. So it was cool talking to the fella. It sounds like this is the kind of work he's done in the past, so it's a good chance for success there. But nothing comes quick. So we've got. I talked with the Department of State Lands Deputy Director this week. We were talking about the Elliott Forest Project, specifically how it relates to the wastewater system in Lakeside. I've mentioned before, if the state does what it wants to do and cuts its bill to Lakeside by more than 80%, that basically puts their wastewater plant upside down for money. State has an understandable perspective. They don't want to pay as much. Lakeside gave them that opportunity before as they were working on their new plant. The state was not responsive. So in my mind, that's more the state's problem than it should be Lakeside's. They could have worked together. The state didn't. So that's their own problem. And I explained to them Lakeside is one of 2 cities in Oregon that cannot levy property tax by charter. So they have no extra money that can go in to cover this. And I talked to DSL. A lot of state departments don't know what the other departments are doing, and they may not know the bigger picture of the state's condition because of that. So I've mentioned before on here more than 60% of Oregon cities and counties are expected to be insolvent within 5 years. So it's a fancy way of saying they'll go bankrupt. And what that looks like, I don't know. I've asked about it before. I've reached out to the state to get more information around it, and there's not a real clear playbook for what happens when that happens. So we're going to be going into interesting times in these next 5 years. Obviously, 60% is, well, I'll put it this way. There's a tendency out there to blame one party or the other. 60% means both parties their governance in counties and cities aren't going to go so well. And it also means the problems we see in Coos County are not particularly better anywhere else. We've got a very low property tax rate that goes to the county, and our cities, not all of them are in great condition. Some of them are starting to feel pinches where they didn't before. Other ones, a little more pinched than usual. And where we'll be at in 5 years, optimistically, we'll have gotten some economic development in Coos County. And there's a lot of possibilities on the horizon. One of the things I was talking with folks about this week is it was relayed to me that through our forestry department, actually, the different departments at the county are always looking for solutions. And the forestry department gave me a heads up about an opportunity that didn't really have to do with trees. It happens in forests. But one of the counties now, I want to say it's up on the Columbia, is leasing sections of their forest for communications companies to put up their cell phone towers or radio towers, different towers. And that is generating revenue without relying on the cost of timber, which the timber market is kind of in the toilet right now. This is another way to profit within the woods. It doesn't require cutting down the trees, probably doesn't generate as much revenue as it would if we did, but it offsets the volatility of the timber market. So it's another opportunity out there that we're looking into. Anywhere we can find a way to generate revenue. The community's been very clear over the past few years. They don't want to raise taxes for the public safety fees. There's concerns about how money is spent, efficiencies. Every department of the county that I've talked to so far is looking at how they can be more efficient, how they can work with the city so that we have collaborative pools that reduce cost overall, and where they can find ways the county could be generating revenue in innovative ways without requesting more tax dollars from the citizens. And this is another way we've looked at doing that and are still looking at. This is new. Another one, we had an economic summit Friday. There have been a lot of economic summits lately. Covering a lot of different sections, but there was another one. So one of the benefits to those for me, it's good to get information. Kind of the theme of it was hard times are kind of coming, but there's some possible things to pop off that would be good. But broadly, things are looking rough. Does give me a chance to connect with people, though, and to connect with people around other people, because a lot of major players in the community end up in one room, so I'm able to connect with folks in transportation that sit on transportation boards and people that work in infrastructure and electric at one time, very conveniently. Connect with some others, and the conversation came up around something I've looked at. It came up when they were working on the transportation bill at the legislature. There was not a substantial effort to reconcile the difference between the gas tax and the taxes that electric vehicles pay for usage. My opinion, we've seen the legislature look a lot at increasing registration fees and having those registration fees be increased more so for electric vehicles than gas. My opinion, I don't think that's the right solution. I think we need a solution that goes by mile traveled. Uh-oh, somebody said they lost me. I hope it's still going. Something that goes by mile traveled. So what I talked with different folks about was how can we do a fee on electric vehicle charging stations, something per kilowatt hour. It was identified as a problem when the transportation bill was made, that it wasn't balancing that. So looking at how we can make a change within our county that would do that. Now, this would be applied to charging stations by my conversation so far, because I don't know a way you would do it based on home charging. And frankly, I'm more interested in getting the tourists' money than our own. So that's something else that's being worked on right now. Another potential revenue generator. Had some good conversation around the trailer park out in Charleston that's been a problem. Folks will know it. It's right behind Davy Jones' locker. It's not any kind of secret. The place has had problems over the years. The owner has also been frustrated. He lives in Mississippi, I believe it was, and he's been trying to get it cleaned up. So if you drive by it, it looks like one side of it has been cleared out quite a bit. The other side is still real rough. But talking with him, he's working on it. The big problem he's had is disposing of some of these kind of destroyed RVs that are stuck there. So the conversation's going on now. How can he be assisted in disposing of those? What economic development agencies are in our area that might have some flexible funds they can use to clear that out? Because there's even been a bill up to the legislature for someone to acquire that property, because it is a massive detriment to the community of Charleston, especially while they're trying to bolster their tourism sector. They've got their own transient lodging tax, which is a tax on hotels, not a tax on homeless people. It got mistaken quite a few times. But yeah, they're working on that. The owner of that trailer park's working on getting it cleaned up. He's not happy at how long it takes either. Question came in, are the RVs vacant or inhabited? I don't think they're inhabited at the time that he's trying to get rid of them. You couldn't get rid of them while the people are still in it. Let's see. And I was able to talk with somebody from the governor's office, our regional solutions person, Jessica, about, I saw the Oregon Prosperity Council is being formed. The governor's working on trying to make Oregon more business friendly. A while back, I put something up that showed Oregon as being, I can't remember, it was like 49th most regular. I'm sorry, it was 49th in regulations. So there was one state worse than us for how many regulations we had. I think that's where we were. It might have been 47. That was from a source that some folks had an issue with. The data was presented to me by a presenter at the Ford Family Foundation. The data came from a group that, from what I've read, is a little more right-leaning. This week, the data was presented from CNBC, showing Oregon as the 39th worst state to do business in. So, gained a few points by switching to CNBC, still real bad. This council has been proposed to try and make things better in terms of business friendliness. What I relate along is, when I read the plan, what's there, it focuses a lot on innovation. It talks a lot about technology. It doesn't talk a lot about what you see in rural communities, where we're doing resources, added value for timber, seafood, agriculture. It was not geared towards development outside of the metro area, from what I read. And the individual put in charge of that group is the director of the Port of Portland, which is failing. It was something I pointed out as well. It has to be heavily subsidized. And from what I've heard from folks in the federal government, I speak vaguely sometimes. I don't want people to get in trouble for telling me things. It's because of how that port is run. It could be more efficient. It could be more friendly. It is not run in a way that makes it an effective port. So it's concerning to me that the director of that port was put in charge of trying to make Oregon more business friendly. And then they had another portion. Becoming a controversial topic, might already be, well, it is already a controversial topic, the Pacific Coast Intermodal Port, PCIP project that would go on the North Spit here. Big shipping production, a lot of money involved, a lot of jobs, but on the other hand, some folks have concerns about the environmental impacts. Some folks have concerns about what it means for Empire if a large shipping operation were across the bay from it. Conversations over what it means for archaeological aspects if the bay is dredged. A lot of things And there have been some meetings around it that are mostly geared against it. But for or against, in terms of the state giving a fair shake to a port project here, putting the head of economic development as the guy that runs a port that would be in competition is already failing and might go under if there was a better option nearby that doesn't require going down 160 miles of water, river. He's going to be biased against us. It would be my expectation. And the plan already doesn't focus on rural. So it just further disadvantages that situation. In my opinion on the PCIP more broadly, we're still pretty early in this thing from the standpoint of local governance. A lot of stuff happening at the feds, a lot of stuff happening at the state. I see opportunities for using more modern riprap, things that are used as buffers, retain the soil. There are ones used down in San Diego that increased the marine biology. They were able to bring back 40 species of aquatic life by using these new hexagonal, kind of porous, almost like its own reef, like a coral, instead of just the old boulders that used to be used. They have a healthy eelgrass population there. So, and if anybody's seen the Port of San Diego, I was stationed there. It's amazing anything is living in that water, especially if it's getting better. So, yeah, generally speaking, I'm optimistic towards it. I can't do a lot of pessimism in that regard because we're going to have to find something. But to the counterpoint, I think something that's been missing over time in the conversation around ecology and conflict between industry and preservation, not just locally, but kind of more broadly nationally, is kind of equivalent expectations. So there are a lot of laws that require industrial development to take into consideration ecology or artifacts. Regulations around the impact they can have on neighborhoods nearby. And to the extent it be mitigated is, marginal at times, but that expectation is there. And it shifts by administration, obviously, as well. That expectation is still there. From the preservation side, what I have not seen is a plan around. Yeah, the baby's okay. Mariah's got her. Mama's got her. She's just, she had newly promoted grandma and great grandma here for a good chunk of the day. So she is wanting more attention now. But yeah, what I don't see a lot is when the preservation side comes in, when the side that doesn't want a project to come in, I do not see that come with an equivalent proposal to bring a similar number of jobs, a similar level of tax revenue. I sometimes hear things referenced like the green economy. I'll hear things about ecotourism. If you research into other localities, other countries that have focused heavy into ecotourism, now they're finding the problem that they brought so many people into their forest that the forests are suffering damage from all that traffic. And the number of people you would need for a tourism like that to make an equivalent amount of money for local government, for the services our citizens need, so that we don't have to raise taxes, is substantial. So I think in the discussion of the PCIP as we move forward, it's going to be important that we skip over a few steps. We already know there's going to be people that say the folks that don't want it just don't want anything to happen. I don't think that's true of everyone there. There are going to be folks that say people that do want it to happen are just greedy and want all the money in the world, and I don't think that's true either. And there's going to be folks that present things just because they don't want it to happen, and they'll put up false ideas of falsely represent why they've got one opinion or the other, when it's not actually their commitment. They just do or don't want it. Yep, that was my rant on the PCIP. Oregon Prosperity Council, DSL Director. Last bit, my article about the systemic criminalization of mental illness in Oregon got sent out to 8 papers this week. There's been some discussion from folks over validity there. I've seen a lot of people supportive of the belief, agreed with the article, have concerns. Some messaged me directly because they don't want it out there in the public, what their thoughts are. Other folks published it there. Nutshell, the state and I reached out to the federal judge that's in charge of the case that's resulting in the state hospital getting fined $500 per day per individual who is more than 7 days pending to go be assessed to stand trial, or assessed for mental capability to stand trial at the state hospital. Since June, that has cost the state $1.4 million. Backtracking the numbers on that, considering it costs $1,777.78 or so per day to hold someone at the state hospital, the state has still saved about $3.5 million by paying the fines instead of staffing the beds. And when those folks get pushed into the criminal justice system, it's unlikely they're actually going to reach the prison, definitely not in any great numbers, not going to reach the prison system of the state. So that cost is borne by the counties, and then response time by the counties, the cities, hospitals. It disseminates the cost out to anyone but the state, with the exception of situations where they get supervision. But the state also cut $400,000, more than $400,000 from our parole and probation, who would be some of that supervision. So, yep, that's out there now too. And I've been talking a lot. I'm going to go assist with the baby. And everybody have a good week. Uh-oh, my slow connection alert is blocking my finish alert. There we go.